Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to do a quick little tutorial on how to do gingham nails, just a couple of tips. It'll be a little bit shorter today, partly because filming this was interrupted by a migraine, and so the amount of footage that I grabbed was a little bit less than usual. So just a couple of quick tips, and we're going to do only my thumbnail. So I'm starting here with a blue color. I'm using the Jellyfit collection, and these polishes are great. Still love them, by the way. I've used them a couple of times on this channel. I went for a blue. I mean, this is like ultimate picnic vibes, right? And I also, you'll see that originally I painted a bunch of different Jellyfit colors on each of my nails, kind of like Skittles nails, I've heard them called. But then I actually ended up changing that and went with just blue and purple. I'm going ahead and cleaning up my nail, and I'm actually using this little cuticle tool as opposed to a brush with alcohol. And that was a recommendation from Liz at the Nail Hub via her Nail Hub school. And she recommends that because she's worried about the dilution of the product formulation, basically, if you're getting a bunch of alcohol mixed into it. So just something I thought I'd share. I still kind of do both, but anyway, I'm taking a matte top coat here. This step I don't think is strictly necessary, but sometimes when you're doing line work, it can be nice to be doing that on top of a matte surface. So here you'll see, these are all the Jellyfit colors, in case you're interested in getting the collection that I did. This is all but one of the colors in matte. They're gorgeous. I'm taking the D-Gel painting gel, and it's hard to see, but I've taken only the smallest amount, and you can see it's running out as I drag it down the nail. And I'm really dragging it down the nail and applying some pressure to make a very thin coat of this polish. And I'm using, basically, it's like a pencil brush. I'm not sure if there's a name for this type of brush. I think they're used often to make like acrylic flowers, but basically it's kind of just a little cone brush, and when you apply pressure to it, it becomes a nice square shape. So that was what I had that made most sense. Basically you need something pretty small. So I think either this type of brush, or I know that there are very small flat brushes that might do the trick as well. And the reason I'm using this opaque painting gel is kind of interesting. It wasn't my first thought. Uh-oh, sirens. The first time I tried doing this, I actually tried using like a very milky white gel. And I found that because you need, the way milky white gels are formulated, they have a lot of clear gel in them. It got very thick on the nail, especially in the parts where the lines converge, the vertical and horizontal lines converge. It made like a big bump. So I think if you have a white painting gel, even though typically, painting gels are more opaque and you're looking for a layered effect, so you do want a thinner kind of a less opaque white in the stripes so that you can build up to a more opaque white in the center of where the stripes converge. I do think that using a stiffer, thinner gel makes most sense when you're doing this. So I laid down these lines. Another tip I just wanted to add is that I saw somewhere when doing plaid or gingham nails, the recommendation that in order to have somewhere to start, you lay down your first line in the center as kind of an anchor line. And that worked well for me. So for most of the nails, I had 3 lines, that center one and then the 2 on the side. And for the pinky nail and the pointer nail, I just ended up having 2 on either side. So I would have thought that at this point we would be done, but the layering effect from these polishes to me is not quite distinct enough. And I don't know where I saw it, but I watched someone do gingham nails, and they used this method where you actually just go back and paint a little square in the middle section of each of the nails. So in my head, I didn't think that this would have been necessary. And this was kind of a revelation for me to see that, oh no, you actually do go in and really emphasize that checked effect, and you really emphasize that like layered crossing effect by just drawing in your own little square. So I'm using a striping brush here. That's what I felt most comfortable with. I have seen people use the same brush that they use to lay down the initial stripes. So that's an option too, if you feel like you have enough control with that. But I went ahead and used this striping brush, and yeah, it's rare that my videos are left in real time the whole time, but this is how long it takes. It's not necessarily quick, but I wouldn't call it super slow either. Yeah, and I think it's fairly beginner friendly. I also will say that because I was having the onset of an ocular migraine, I don't know if anyone else has these, but kind of the first signs of them end up being that you can't really see. These nails did end up being a little bit more messy, I think, than I would have preferred, but I do think they lend themselves to a little bit more of like a rustic look. We're just going to call it rustic, right? A slightly imperfect look. They look more like whimsical that way, I think. Obviously, I think these are like perfect spring nails. They scream picnic. They're very, very cute. I got a lot of compliments on these, and yeah, I think they're very seasonally appropriate. So yes, and you'll see, I didn't actually include, again, because of the migraine, I kind of just stopped filming for a while as I was finishing, but I didn't include adding another matte top coat after curing these. So it's just going to jump from curing these little squares into the finished product. But do know that I did add another matte top coat after curing the little white squares. And I think these also, I don't always love matte nails. I don't necessarily tend toward them, but these look really cool in matte, I think. It just helps to really make the pattern pop. So anyway, we'll go in for a little bit of correction here. I'm using a silicone tool, and this is another tip that I've seen. I did put a little bit of acetone on it, or actually I think it's nail surface cleanser, so a mix of acetone and alcohol. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit off, out of frame, but I'm using the very straight edge of the silicone tool to just press the gel into a more perfect square. And I think the silicone tool is super valuable for stuff like that. I often use a brush with acetone, but don't overlook your silicone tool for this. Here's the final result. These are grown out 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, something like that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to be back sooner than later for another video, and I'll see you soon. Bye.